Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. I'm Shawn.
I am Anthony.
And I'm Ray.
And hey, guys, as Anthony pointed out to me this week, this is basically our 2-year anniversary. So happy anniversary to y'all.
2 years of terror.
2 years of terror. I also like to point out to any maybe other podcasts that might exist that might be using our name since, like a year ago, that we have actually been around longer. So fuck off. No, well, I mean, kind of, but I don't want to be like that. But same time, I mean, I feel like it would be really hard to start a podcast and not realize that there already is a podcast with that name.
True.
So yeah, 2018 is when we started. So that trumps 2019. So anyway.
Plus, I challenged them to a pickaxe fight. So.
No, seriously. I mean, we're all.
I don't.
No, I know. So hopefully, what would end up happening is like we'll just come to some kind of whatever. This is literally like breaking news. Like, but anyway. So guys, happy 2-year anniversary. Let's just do our round robin. What are we watching? Anthony, what are you watching?
Yeah, I just watched Clive Barker's Books of Blood on HULU.
Okay, how is it?
Ooh, it's okay. I'm not gonna say it's great. I get that they were trying to go for a new spin on it. They added some new material, but all the best material's already there. Clive Barker already wrote it. It's already been iterated in other different films. We already had another Books of Blood movie that came out before. There was, Midnight Meat Train. Like this stuff has been done before, and unfortunately, it was better executed then. I didn't hate this movie. The wraparound's okay. I like how the stories tie together. There is one solid story that does pull everything together, and that's the Book of Blood story itself.
Right. Is that the
beyond
wraparound?
That everything is new. It's quasi.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not horrible. It's not gory. It's got a couple of instances where you're kind of creeped out, but beyond that, there's no terror or anything like that. You're definitely not as scared as you are watching the book. Do I recommend it? If you're already paying for HULU, why the hell not? If you like Clive Barker, it's not Clive Barker, but even though he had a production credit on it, I'm sure he's just taking a check at this point. Which is sad, but it's not horrible.
Well, first of all, you saw he like hit Twitter last week or the week before with like, hey guys, I'm back. And he's like publishing a novel and a book of short stories and a book of poems, like all this stuff. So looks like he'd been kind of saving up to hit the ground running, which is pretty cool. But so this is interesting because my good friend Missy, hi Missy, she's probably listening. She was going to watch this the other day, and I was like, hey, just so you know, like, I was excited about it. I didn't see the Books of Blood that came out, I don't know, like, 6-7 years ago? It was, like, direct to DVD. It didn't, I don't know. I liked Midnight Meat Train. I've been weary of all the other, there was one for Dread, which I loved the story, and I was like, I just don't see them doing this. I mean, I should watch it before I say that, but whatever. But,
I've actually heard good things about that one.
Really?
It's just never been one that I got to.
I love that story. But so, it's interesting seeing this, and like I got excited, and then when I saw like an interview where they said that they basically had written new, because when I watched the trailer, I was like, I don't recognize, and I just reread a large part of the Books of Blood, so I'm like, I don't recognize almost any of this. So
no, there's little to not. There's really not much holding it together other than, like I said, the Book of Blood story itself,
right.
which creates this little universe that the rest of the stories exist in, which is kind of cool. It's got a couple of decent concepts in it, like I said, but it's not what you remember, and it's definitely not what you read.
I mean, it makes sense that they would use that as kind of the connective tissue, but I just don't know why they would write new stuff. And they said that they like wrote it, if I remember correctly, like with Barker, but I don't think he actually wrote it. So I've noticed he's been doing a lot of stuff. He has a production company called Seraphim, which is really weird because when I look for the website, there's like 9 other production companies with the same name. But this is relevant to one of the things I was going to talk about because I just read this book called The Toll, which is
the Hellraiser book.
Yeah, and it's not written by Barker, but it's a similar thing where it's like Mark Miller, who is a guy that works with Barker at Seraphim Productions, wrote it. And I guess, it spawned out of like conversations he had with Clive about, what would have happened. And it's interesting because I also just read Hellbound Heart. And the thing I forgot about that is Kirsty is not, it's not Frank and his brother, what in the movie is it's not Nathan. I forget the father's name, but in the book it's Frank and it's Julia and then their friend Rory, and Kirsty's a friend, so there isn't that like familial connection. So I always thought that like, okay, Hellbound Heart is great, but Barker used the movie which he wrote and directed to perfect the story, and so he added the thing where it's Kirsty's the daughter of the man married to Julia, right? And so it's interesting. The Toll bridges the gap between the movie Hellraiser and then the Scarlet Gospels, which you, Anthony, have recommended to me multiple times, and I'm definitely going to read very soon. I've been wanting to read it. But so it's just weird. Like, I didn't love The Toll. Like, Mark Miller's he's a fine writer, but it just didn't do anything that I thought it was. It should have been longer. Some of the ideas were not developed really at all. So some of the concepts I liked, and I liked catching up with Kirsty, but I thought that the Boom comic actually did a better job of showing us what Kirsty had done, after. But so, in other words, with this and then this Books of Blood, it seems like this production company idea is where, like, while Barker has been kind of, where he's been, I don't want to say a hermit, but he's been away from the spotlight and apparently working on all this new stuff. It seems like he has kind of farmed out some of his concepts to other people that have run with him. And so both The Toll and this HULU Books of Blood sound like that. And I don't know if I care about expanding it outside of his hand. Does that make sense?
Yes and no. The only thing I'm looking forward to is that Hellraiser show, because I think we've talked about it before. Where there's a wealth of mythos that's been created by other writers now. That's very interesting, and I don't like seeing that stuff. So it'd be really cool to see that.
That's true. I hadn't even thought of that, the Toll in that context. So actually, I really should correct my thinking, because then, yeah, you're right. I mean, all those comics, those old comics you lent me from the 80s and 90s and like all of that, I love all of that. So I think there is a lot of room. So you're right. I think maybe just The Toll wasn't exactly what I wanted from it. And then it sounds like this Books of Blood is just, I mean, I'm weary of like other people writing stories and then like using a Barker vehicle as like the connective tissue for them. It seems kind of like just use I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you, because that was the issue that I had with this film. But it is what it is.
Ray, what about you? What have you seen?
Recently they hit what is it? Shudder dropped The Mask of the Red Death and The Fall of the House of Usher.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never seen those, so I decided to watch them. Just been kind of spending my time watching some classics, and I like them both. They are very much of the period, so they're a little bit. It's not hokey is not the right word. They're a little bit, I don't know, slow. They don't have they depend a lot on development of time and building towards endings rather than scares a lot. But I thought they were both pretty entertaining. I liked them quite a bit. Vincent Price is great in both of them. Like, he's a different character in each one. One, he's a little bit more of a coward, like scared coward, and the other one he's a lot more arrogant and powerful and yeah. And they're good. They're a good time. I think they're worth watching.
When I saw that they were releasing, or that they had dropped those, The Mask of the Red Death, I'm not positive. We were talking about Svengoolie recently. I grew up watching, as a kid, Son of Svengoolie in Chicago. He's this horror host. If you guys don't know about him, actually you can find some stuff on YouTube. I love him. But I used to watch his show, and that was one movie I remember my dad had to turn it off because it scared the fuck out of me. I don't even remember what it was about it, so I really want to revisit it.
Interesting.
And I started watching it the other day after you said you watch it, but it was like one of these like after work, and I had only had a couple hours of sleep the night before, so I passed out almost immediately. But I'm really looking forward to it. And then I have never seen The House of Usher. I have seen. I have unfortunately seen Ken Russell's Fall of the Louse of Usher, which is completely fucking crazy. I don't know that I would recommend it. Oh my god, I'm just like the images springing up on IMDb for this are taking me back to a bizarre cinematic experience. But yeah, dude, you're very good at watching classic stuff. I love you for that because hey,
Hey,
Chris,
what's up, Chris?
happy 2-year anniversary.
Hey, happy anniversary, guys.
I thought you were about to sing. That's fun.
I was bring flowers.
Yeah. You don't bring me flowers anymore.
Oh,
Yeah, I know that was lame. Chris, you're perfectly timed. What have you been watching? Give us something. We're going round robin.
Bounce right back to me. I need to grab my headphones real fast.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's fine because
Okay.
I can add one thing, which is you mentioned Svengoolie, and you can actually catch Svengoolie out here. It's on MeTV, and it's on every Saturday at like I believe it's 8 to 10. So he still runs, he still shows movies, and it's there's something else I'm going to bring up later that I watched through him, and it's nice because it's he actually presents the entire movie. It's not like weirdly edited or anything. I actually watched Halloween 6 on Prime.
yeah.
I liked it. I did. I liked the whole Thorn mythology. But the only thing that pissed me off was that it was part of AMC Plus subscription. So
Dude,
I
that
tried it
shit
out
is
for a week.
bullshit. That is a
Yes, it
bullshit
is.
subscription.
Oh my god. Yeah, apparently Sean has run into this before.
I ran into it last fucking night. It's fucking bullshit.
The movies are weirdly edited, like for TV. So like they're showing you what they edited for TV. So like some of the swearing's weirdly edited out, and like they do like these weird cuts, and it's obviously because they're doing it for commercials but it's just.
And it's a pay.
I was like, oh man,
it's a fucking pay subscription. And I was looking up multiple Stephen King movies yesterday, and all of them were on that. And so I go to the AMC app, and Kirsten's mom has DirecTV, so we put in, the subscriber shit. We get the AMC app going, and none of them are on there. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I realize, it's AMC Plus, right? So I go look at that. It's pay, and then I'm reading about it, and I see other people going, what the fuck? I paid for this, and they're edited. Like, what? Like,
it's terrible,
dude.
It's
and
terrible.
On top of it, a lot of so AMC owns Shudder, so a lot of the shit that they have on there, it's just basically AMC and their edited bullshit, and then Shudder.
Yeah, but I'm afraid I would be afraid to watch anything that would possibly be connected to Shudder, because who knows what kind of weird edits they're doing, because they show some of the Shudder stuff on AMC now, but I would figure they do like commercial editing or something, and it's got to be fucking weird.
I don't know. Anyway, good. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. Chris, what do you got?
I like the movie.
Me, actually, I just got done binging the first season of the CBS show Evil.
So I saw billboards for this when the show first started. I think, are they on a second season now?
The second season is coming. I don't know exactly when because of COVID and all that stuff. I don't know if they even got around to being able to film any of it. But I know that it is renewed for a second season. So, it's really, really interesting show. Basically, it is it's Mike Coulter, I think is how you say it, who played Luke Cage.
Okay.
Luke Cage. It's him. He is a priest in training. He's in his third year of seminary. And he teams up with a forensic psychiatrist or psychologist, and then another kind of tech guy. And basically, they're paid by the Catholic Church to investigate different possibilities of possessions or miracles, and then find out, either prove or disprove them on behalf of the church. So it involves a lot of exorcisms and a lot of things like that, where they're trying to debunk things. But what I really enjoy with it is the main antagonist is Michael Emerson, yeah, who previously was Ben Linus on Lost. And man, he is just such a Weasley character.
He does weasel good. He obviously on Lost, right? But also, he was in the first Saw movie. And honestly, the last time I went back and watched that, which it's rare. Those movies are problematic at best. But I think he does he's probably the best member of the cast. It's like the eventual Lost alumni. It's him and the guy that played Miles. I forget that actor's name, but they're way better than the stars who suck. Glover and Carrie Elwes are just awful in that movie. But Michael Emerson, he's a good actor.
Yeah, and God, he really gets under your skin, and he really makes your blood boil. The stuff that he pulls and manages to get away with. Basically, it's not a spoiler because you find out in the first episode there, he is I don't want to say a rival forensic psychologist, but basically he gets hired by the gals, by her former bosses, to basically be a second pair of eyes after they let her go. And he is going through all of basically undoing everything that she did. If she says, no, this person isn't competent to sit trial, this kid here, he can't be tried as an adult because of this, and this. He's purposely going in and saying, no, he can get tried because of this. And he's just wrecking shop. And the whole thing is that he's a Satanist. He is just he just does evil for the sake of doing evil.
That's interesting. I think originally I had read something about the show that turned me off a little bit, and it was the depiction of Satanists as evil, where I'm not a Satanist, but also I know enough about Satanism to know that it has nothing to do with evil. So I always kind of get a little bit chafed at things like stories or fiction that uses the evil, Satanists who do evil. It's kind of such a okay, this isn't 1983. You should kind of know better.
Well, in this case, it's more like biblical Satanism. They get into a lot of there's a lot of talk about demons and a lot of visions and things like that. So it really, I don't know, it manages to work in this show.
Okay. I'll definitely give it a shot. I happen to have all access right now, and
yeah, and the first season's on Netflix as well too.
Oh, well, that's even better. Anthony, what do you got?
I watched Ron Bonk's House Shark.
Wait, Ron Bong?
Got Ron Bonk, Bonk. Yeah.
Bong.
It's literally about a shark that comes out of someone's toilet and eats people in a house. It's exactly what you think it is about, and it's amazing.
Like they do.
It's incredible. It's incredible. It's totally. I compare it to those Guar movies where everything's DIY.
Yeah.
Lots of rubber, lots of foam, lots of splatter. Really, really tasteless jokes. It's hysterical. It's not PC and it's fun as shit and gory. I had a blast watching it. And I was like, this movie has no business being 2 hours long. And it's so fucking fun the whole time. It's stupid how good it is. And it's I've seen this thing at Walmart before, sitting on the shelf for $10. I'm like, nobody's going to watch that shit. And I watched it. It's changed my fucking life, man. It's so good.
That's amazing.
It's fucking great. Everybody.
I gotta say, I gotta add one thing, and that's it. And I don't know if anyone else saw this post, but Anthony actually watched this based off of he posted pictures of 3 different movies on Instagram and asked people to vote which one should I watch, and I guess that won. So I ended up checking out the trailer online, and it totally looked like a trauma movie. So I can imagine it's fun.
It's so good. It's so good. I implore everybody to waste 2 hours of your life watching Count Shark. It's fantastic. Oh yeah, another quick tidbit. Ray, I actually have a red mask that I wear out in public, and I call it my mask of Red Death.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I checked out the first episode of Hulu's Monsterland, which is an adaptation of that Nathan Ballingood's book, first collection of short stories, North American Lake Monsters. And man, oh wow. First episode's called Port Fourchon, Louisiana, and it's really good. I think it was Megan Navarro on Bloody Disgusting wrote a review of the show and basically said, like, it's really good, but it's not, like, it's super heavy. I forget how she worded it. She worded it more eloquently, but man, it resounded with me for quite a while afterwards and just left me feeling it's funny, like the stories didn't fuck me up nearly as much as seeing them so far with this one, as like seeing them filmed. It really kind of fucked with me. And they changed the ending a little bit, but it was essentially the same. But yeah, wow, I'm looking forward to watching more of it. So really like that. Ray, what do you got?
Well, I watched Werewolf of London, and it's weird because I'd never heard of it before, and then I joined Peacock, and I saw it on there, and then I remembered that I had an episode of Svengoolie recorded that showed it, so I watched it. It's a Universal werewolf movie. It predates the Wolfman, and interestingly enough, the guy that did the makeup effects for that movie later went on to do the Wolfman. And the very first test look for the werewolf that he did in the Werewolf of London was later what he used in the Wolfman. It's good. It's definitely worth the time. It's about this guy who's a scientist who goes to, if I remember correctly, maybe Tibet, and he's looking for this flower that only grows in moonlight, and he finds it, but when he finds it, he gets attacked by a werewolf, doesn't realize it, comes back to London, and turns into a werewolf. But yeah, it's got solid performances, and it's a good time. And I'm gonna group it with another film, and that's that yesterday I watched the original Fly, which surprised me.
More Vincent Price.
I'd never seen it. I'd of course seen the one from the 80s, the Cronenberg. Yeah, and it's different. Like, the thing that really kind of it was impressive to me was that in the original, the movie begins with well, I'll just give it away because it's right there at the beginning of the movie, with the scientist who has been turned into the fly creature being killed by his wife using industrial
fly
press.
Swatter? No? Oh, sorry.
No, an industrial press. And then she's being charged with his death, and it believes that they're also not sure if she's insane because she's saying, like, she can't explain it, and why would she have done this? Because they were in so much love. And Vincent Price plays the guy's brother, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And then she goes into the backstory of what happened. So it's kind of told in reverse. And I was like, this is really cool for this time period for them to shoot it in such a way.
That sounds interesting.
But yeah, it's worth the time. I'll admit to one thing, which is I didn't want to pay to rent it, so I found it on Daily Motion and watched it that way for free.
Isn't it in a public domain at this point?
I guess not, because a lot of places are have it for $2.99, $3.99, something like that. So
wow,
I would think so, but no.
Yeah, because Shout has the distribution rights to it
right now.
Oh, there
you go.
Because they're pushing the Fly box set, which I bought and is pretty awesome because it's got them all in there.
Right.
Nice.
Hey, Ray, don't lie. Now, I know that you watched the VP debates, and the Fly is what made you want to watch the Fly.
No, I need to rewatch the remake. I really do. I haven't watched it in years. I think because
and the
honestly,
sequel, you have to do the double feature.
Oh man, the sequel's so hard for me. I saw those both, like about a year or so after they came out when they hit cable as a kid. And man, oh, I still am bothered by so many moments in that first one. And in the second one, I'm so bothered by the dog mutilation going through the transporter moment. Like that, I was watching that with my sister when I was a kid. We both paused the movie, started weeping, and ran to our mother. Like, that's when they fucked us up.
I love that you said weeping.
I mean, he loved that dog, and then the poor dog just got utterly fucked up. So yeah, you're a little kid, you're watching that fucks you up, man.
Man, I'm missing out. I need to see those. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a prime, Eric Stoltz, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony, what do you got?
Verotika. Glen Danzig. Motherfucking Verotika.
Dude, you are made of much sterner stuff than me, sir, because I literally could not, as soon as I saw it, and I knew it was there, oh God, it's so bad.
If you've ever wanted someone to take a giant shit on your face and then just smear it.
It is so bad. And it's not like I expected like, oh, it's the Room of horror, and the Room is, the first 2 times you see the Room, it's like, well, I can't stop watching this train wreck.
The Room is fucking award-winning by comparison.
Yeah, dude.
Giant piece of shit, man. This movie is fucking bad on all accounts.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
It's horrible.
How many viewings did it take you to get through?
Yeah, probably about 5.
Ooh. How many Xanax did you have to pop in order to get through?
Bottles.
Dude.
Bottles. No, it was bad. It was like the 3rd time I got into it. I was like, Jesus, I'm only 45 fucking minutes into this thing. It's horrible. It's so bad. He just hired a bunch of strippers and like porn stars who can't act for shit. Like there's literally a 10-minute sequence of like pole dancing.
Well, did you ever read any of the comics?
Oh,
yeah, I did. I like Jaguar God and a couple of his other ones that he did back then. But this is trash, hot trash. It sucks so bad. Please don't watch it.
Yeah, man, it's not even. It's so bad. It's good. Chris, have you seen it? Because I know we were like almost going to go see the premiere on that rooftop theater.
Yeah. You know what? I have downloaded it. I have not had the opportunity to get around to watching it yet, primarily because everything that I've heard about it so far has been putting me off.
Put that shit in the delete. Just
dude, seriously.
Get rid of it.
The first 3 minutes was funny, and I didn't know that Morella was a pre-existing like female character, because there's a Jim Wynorski movie from the 80s called The Haunting of Morella, which I didn't know until this, but I tripped off the beginning because it's this chick that like has another chick chained up and she pokes out her eyes or whatever, and she's like, I'm Morella, and my girlfriend's last name is Morella, so I was like, oh, you gotta see this, baby, it's hysterical. And then like the first skit starts and it's like this chick dry humping this guy, and then she takes her top off and she's got eyes in her nipples, and I had heard every review mentions this. It's not that all happens, but it's like there's this like CGI spider, and like it's the worst CGI. I mean, I'm like, is this 1998? Like, seriously?
It's criminally bad.
It's so bad. And I just, man, I don't want to talk shit about him because, like, Danzig was very important to me musically. And, like, I guess for years and years, I thought that, if he was to do these, like, I knew he had aspirations in other media and mediums, and I thought if he did them, I would connect with them somehow. I'll never forget in the 90s when Verotika 1 and Jaguar God 1 came out. Jaguar God 1, I don't know, it's fine in that, like, the art, because it's very Frazetta, or is it Frazetta?
Yeah, it's Frazetta. Like, he uses all that stuff from, like, Death Dealer and everything.
Yeah. But, like, nothing happens in it. So it's just basically an art book, which kind of always annoys me. That was big in the 90s, with Image and stuff in the early years. And then also, like, the Verotika was just awful. I mean, just, like, it was like Marvel Comics Presents if it was done by, like, patients of lobotomy or something. I don't know. It was so bad. So I had to disconnect with him there. And like over the years, it's just like I still connect with some of his music, but more and more he just does things where I'm like, dude, you are so out of touch. Like he feels like he has to like pound his chest and pretend like he's not aging.
Oh man, have you gotten a chance to? Have you heard his last release he just put out?
I've not heard
Elvis
Danzig,
covers.
Danzig sings Elvis.
You know what? And I remember 20 years ago, I would have fucking waited in line for that album. But you know what? Now
it's awful. I mean, the biggest thing too with him, and this is going off on the side a little bit here. The biggest thing is the dude. He has George Lucas syndrome. Either he's surrounded by a bunch of, either he's surrounded by yes men who refuse to tell him otherwise, or he just does everything himself. Because for the last like 4 albums maybe, he's put out, every single one, the volume on the vocals is skyrocketed way too high, and the music is so fucking low.
And
it's like, okay, we get it. You sing, you're a singer, you can sing pretty well, but fucking get somebody else to mix that shit. Man.
Dude, seriously, ever since Circle of Snakes, I'm a fan of I Lucifari, Danzig 7, but Circle of Snakes, I like a couple songs on it, but it's the first one where I was like, what the fuck is up with the production on this record? Like, the voice is so, and you see live, I've seen him live many times, not in years, but for a couple of years, I saw him every time he came through Chicago, and it's like he's failing, like he won't admit he can't hit certain notes, and it's like, dude, stop, play to your strengths, man. And it's yes men, and oh man, it just makes me so sad. I think he could be making great music if he just had the right, people around him and the right producer, definitely, for sure.
Ray, you're up. I was going to go into, because you talked about House Shark, and I recently watched a couple movies that I thought were 80s films. They're really ridiculous. Like they're clearly like horror comedies, but they're also like gory and funny. And that was Blood Diner and Doom Asylum. Both just really ridiculous, but like kind of like fun in their concept and also in their execution. Like Blood Diner is about these two brothers who's and it's on everything. Like I think it's on Hulu, and I think it's on Prime, and I don't know if it's on Shudder, but you can probably find it in a lot of places. It's very cheesy, very funny, and gory, and it's about these two brothers who are trying to, with the help of their dead uncle, who is a brain in a jar with eyeballs connected to it, resurrect an ancient Egyptian god, Shetan, through a blood orgy, and it's just fucking ridiculous. Like it's got a lot of humor. Like they have to do so through like finding sacrifices, through a diner that they both run. Like the one brother runs the front end. Yeah, it's ridiculous. The one brother runs the front end, like serves the guests, and he's a hit, and he knows hypnotism. And then the other brother is this like wrestling obsessed chef, and like it's almost trauma. Like there's a moment in it where like the one brother is constantly watching. I know you're laughing. Is constantly watching wrestling while he's preparing food for the people in the diner. And this guy is sitting there who comes in all the time, whose nickname is Vitamin. Like, that's what they call him. It's this big fat guy. And he's constantly like eating food but burping.
Oh, my God.
And, like, the brother's watching the wrestling, and the guy's like, hey, can you turn that off? Like, you know that shit's fake. And it just annoys the brother to the point of, like, he's like, what? And he jumps over the counter and starts choking the guy. And because he's choking him, like, for some reason, it induces vomiting and vitamins, so he starts puking at people in the diner, and you're like, what is this? But it's this throwaway moment in the fucking movie. Oh, and it's just, I think the reason I brought it up because it's so emblematic of how bizarre and all over the place the movie is, but it's still fun.
It still sounds like an Academy Award winner compared to Verotika, but
oh yeah.
Keep going.
And Doom Asylum, I think I talked to you about it the other day. It's so trite. Like, you know, they're not breaking new ground. Guy there's this madman. I don't even want to go into his backstory, but there's this madman, and he lives inside of an old abandoned asylum. Apparently, one of the big things about the film was that it actually filmed inside of an actual abandoned asylum. And these kids come to the asylum because they hear about, like, oh, you know, I hear strange stuff happens there. I hear it's haunted. So of course kids want to come there, you know, high school, college kids. And he starts picking them off and murdering them in fairly gruesome ways. But it's, you know, it's again a comedy. Like, there's this ridiculous moment where, like, one of the lead characters, this girl, her mother died when she was young, and she's standing there talking to her boyfriend, and she's sad about her mom being gone. And the boyfriend is kind of like the lead, like, athletic guy, like, you know, hunky character, but he's also a complete moron. And he's like trying to make her feel better, and he says to her, "Hey, I know you miss your mom. If you want, you can call me Mom." And then she starts going, "Okay, Mom, hug me, Mom." And it's so bizarre to hear this girl calling her boyfriend Mom, but it's clearly done for comedy. And, like, there's just so many moments like that in that film where you're just like, what is this? This is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. But it's oddly entertaining and, like, very gory. So worth checking out.
All right. Interesting. Chris, did you watch Raised by Wolves by chance?
Yes, I did, and I'm one episode until the end.
Dude, the fucking season finale is fucking nuts. The show, I love the show. It is totally fucking, like, anything you think that is going to happen in that finale, it's not. Like, it's going to be totally, oh my God, that show is fucking crazy.
Like, in a good way or
in a good
bad
way? I really like that show a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely not horror. It's you know, I feel okay talking about it because it's you know, relevant in the way Prometheus would be or whatever. I'm still not 100% sure. Earlier in the season, I was 100% sure that this would not tie into Alien. I'm not 100% sure anymore. I almost would rather it didn't at this point. But
yeah, no, I definitely don't think that it will.
I don't know. There's some things. I don't know.
There's some
probably won't.
There's some familiar themes with the androids. You know, as far as like bleeding milk.
Yeah, dude. Oh my God. There's some horrific shit in that show. So,
see, I've been watching Lovecraft.
So, are you up? I know we're all watching Lovecraft. Who's up to date?
I am.
No,
I mean, I am enough. I am enough. I haven't seen last week's, but it kind of got spoiled for me a bit. I heard that it was a bit like Nightmare on Elm Street to an extent.
No. There's one
So,
image.
not really.
There's one image that is an obvious nod.
Yeah.
And you see the trailer. It's a little girl skipping a rope, singing a rhyme. No, it's not like.
Okay.
The final image of the episode I thought was fucking fantastic. I think this is going to be one of those shows that does not come back, like Watchmen, where it's just one and done. And
well, I mean, like Shawn, you've read the book.
Yeah.
Have either of you guys read the book as well?
No.
It's.
Okay.
I think it's
I can't
better
read.
than the book.
Do you?
I think it's better than the book
What?
simply in that there's more. I mean, they had to add more visual horror stuff to it.
Yeah.
The book is, and this isn't a bad thing, but it's a social issue book first and horror second. That's totally fine. I'm not knocking it, but they've done. I don't like everything they've changed for the show, but overall, I like the show better than I like the book, and some of it is just for the sheer sake of like the grandiosity of what they're putting on screen. It's not the best CG I've ever seen. That's fine. You know, reminds me of Ash vs. Evil Dead a little bit, where some of the CG is questionable. But overall, I really like it. I like all the characters quite a bit, and I think it's going to be. I think it's just a great show.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I didn't read the book, but I did listen to the book on tape.
That's the same. So you know the book then.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, I'm right there with you. I do feel like the book definitely needed more visual component to it. So I do like some of those additions. You know, I really enjoyed the one from a few weeks back. Those real Cronenberg body horror. You know exactly what I'm talking
about. With the potion, right?
Yeah.
So here, that's one of my pet peeves with the show.
Really?
And it looks fucking great, but it makes no sense in the context of the way they use it. So in other words,
no, not at all. I mean, like the majority of the show doesn't make sense.
Well, no, but I mean, in the rules that they've already established, like first of all, we've already seen one character change without any of that happening, and then secondly,
what character was that?
There's a scene where Christina walks off camera for a second and then walks back, and I guess there's ways you could explain it, but it's so grandiose the way that they're doing it when Ruby's drinking it, and then later it happens with Christina as well, where it's more this like complete Cronenbergian like body. I mean, but it's so over the top. It doesn't make any sense. Like it just, I don't know. I think they're doing it just for the visual gag, and that's cool, but it doesn't really. I don't know. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, as far as the whole thing with the quick change, I can chalk that up to it seems like they really only go full Cronenberg when they're changing back. You really don't see any of the stuff that happens when they're
that's okay.
When they're taking on whatever persona.
That's interesting. Okay, well, touche. All right, Anthony, what you got?
I watched 1986's The Worst Witch with the ball.
Never heard of this.
Really?
It's fantastic.
It's great. No, me and my kid were sitting in bed the other night. I was like, "Hey, you want to watch The Worst Witch?" And he didn't dispute that, so you can't talk.
With like felt like the 15-minute Tim Curry music number.
Anything can happen on Halloween. I can do the whole thing. I
was almost gonna start singing that.
Wait a minute, I know that, but I don't know that movie.
Oh man,
maybe I do know the movie.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's pre-Harry Potter. It's proto Potter.
Yeah.
It's a fun one though, man. It was just like a staple growing up as a kid. I mean, it ran on all. I think it was Disney Channel. It's not a Disney film.
No, it was I remember when it got released. It was an HBO. It was an HBO made for cable movie. Yeah.
But I remember it was on constantly throughout the month of October, and I fell in love with it back then, and I still try to watch it every October, just for nostalgic purposes. But I love the film. It's still great. I mean, the cheesy music numbers and really really bad effects that they do, and I don't know, just Veruza Balk as a little kid. But it's so fun, and it hits the nostalgia button really
it's
hard.
All blue screen or green screen. It's all green screen during that whole Tim Curry moment. It's all green screen. You see a little green around everything.
But so now you got to follow that up with the Veruza Balk Return to Oz.
Oh, that movie!
Which I have. I do have that.
Yeah,
that's a good flick.
I do that. Yeah.
So that's a crazy movie.
Make him poop his pants with that one. But still a fun, kids flick. I think we talked about this actually on one of our first episodes about gateway horror films, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Dude, good. You're starting your kid. I mean, shit, man. Your child you're starting them right. You're starting them right away. That's good.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's good.
Ray, what you got, man?
Well, on Anthony's, I think it was a couple episodes back that he talked about it. I decided to watch Fright Night, the remake this afternoon, and I really liked it. It's quality.
I love the remake.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, it's a good time. Like I really, don't get me wrong. Like I just really love the original so much and the sequel.
Absolutely.
But I thought it was really good. Like it was. I thought I liked the things that they changed. I thought some of the things that they came up with were really original. I like the fact that he's kind of building more of like a coven, or if you call it that, of new vampires. Like he's rebuilding his race there, as compared to just killing off people and then just dumping their bodies. It made a lot more sense that, as an explanation of like, well, this stuff is just abandoned. Where do these people go? Like instead of the police finding a whole bunch of bodies, they're not finding anything. And so when he calls the cops on him, it doesn't make any sense because there's nobody missing. There's nobody who's been reporting gone. It's just, and it makes also perfect sense that it's in this part of Vegas where people, live in Vegas, and like they always are constantly moving out of that neighborhood too. So that makes a lot of sense too.
Mm-hmm.
Plus I love that I dug that little cameo by Chris Sheridan as the like driver that that crashes into him and gets murdered by Jerry. I was like, that's so cool that they actually caught him to come in and perform as the character. I really dug the shit out of it. I thought it was a really good time.
It's solid. I after Anthony talked about it, I bought it, and because he mentioned it was out of print, and
really.
I saw it in a theater, and I really liked it, and man, I don't know, like, it's very good. It's one of the better remakes, definitely.
Tony Collette's great in it. Yelkin's great.
Yeah.
As far as remakes go, that was one of my favorite casting.
Yeah,
Anton
definitely.
Yelchin, rest in peace.
Yeah,
was great in it. David Tennant.
Oh, dude,
yes.
He's wonderful in just about anything.
Yeah, he really is.
And Colin Farrell. Farrell.
Yeah.
He played a really great vampire, I thought.
He does, yeah. And Toni Collette's great as the mom, and like just the way she like falls for him, and like the mistakes that she makes, and it is really good. I really like it. Chris, I want to steer your next entry because I've never talked about this on here, and I would really like to talk about this with you and turn people on to this that don't know about it, including you two guys, Ray and Anthony. So I want to go a little bit into podcasts and fictional podcasts. So months back, I'm going to start here, but it's not really where it started. But we both listened to Rebecca Klingle's podcast, Borrasca, which stars the guy that plays Jughead. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Sprouse.
Yeah.
Cole Sprouse? Or is it Cole?
Cole Sprouse.
Cole.
There you go.
Cole.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's like an 8 or 10 episode fictional podcast. Rebecca Klingle actually, I guess, did this on Reddit's No Sleep, and then it caught Mike Flanagan's attention, and she ended up being one of the writers on Haunting of Hill House, and now she's also involved in Bly Manor, which hopefully we'll be able to get to. But her No Sleep entry, Borrasca, really got her some good attention, and then she ended up having the ability to do it as a podcast and to cast it and to really like flesh it out. And I don't know about you, Chris, but I loved it so much. And the final episode of Borrasca was one of the most pulse-pounding, fucked up, terrifying things I've encountered in years.
Yeah. No, it was really good. It was a fun run. Is there I know that they are doing a second season.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard any news about?
No. I haven't really looked. A lot of that stuff, it's like now I'm always hesitant to go like follow stuff too rigidly, or you'll get disappointed because it's like waiting for water to boil, right? It's like the more you look, the longer it takes, kind of thing. So and this is one of the reasons I've never talked about it on here, is just because it keeps slipping between episodes. I always forget about it. But man, I mean, anybody that hasn't checked it out, like I said, it's not that long. And it's really, really good. And it's basically just this, like, the first episode, it starts, and it's like, I don't know, like the brother is 8 years old, and the daughter is preteen or something. And they move to this new town. Their dad becomes a sheriff. And it's in the Ozarks, I believe. And then you jump. And then that's where Cole Sprouse is the teenage version of the boy. The daughter disappears. And you find out in this town, a lot of girls disappear. And there's actually this sound that like they hear resound from the hills, the forest around the town. And there's this lore about it. And it's like, it involves the shining men and these women in white that come down and from the woods. And they have these Borrasca parties where whenever they hear this sound, all the teenagers go to this place, this treehouse thing, and have a party that night because somebody's going to disappear. And so it's very like, kind of flipping your finger to fate or whatever. And all the adults dismiss it, even though after this happens, always a girl goes missing. And so it's when the sister goes missing, and then like later a friend goes missing, and these characters headed by Sprouse's character end up looking for her. And eventually they find, in the final episode, they do find out what's going on. And it's fucked, man. It was
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Dude, send me a link. I'm on the road for like 9-10 hours out of the day. I'm always looking for something to listen to, man.
You'll gobble it. I guarantee. I'll send it to you tonight. And
Please
then,
do.
Chris, I still am way the fuck behind, but you turned me on to the Magnus archives, which is
the Magnus archives. Yeah,
there's so many fucking episodes. It's daunting, but it's great.
It's I think I still have about 60 plus episodes to get current with it. I think they're like 180 episodes now at this point.
Jesus Christ. Give us like a I don't know,
little synopsis thing.
Yeah.
So basically, it's about this this guy who works for this this institute, the Magnus Institute, and they're over in England, and basically for the past I forget how long, 100 years, something like that, these people have been tracking and archiving these different supernatural occurrences. And in his role as the archivist, okay, and in his role, it's his job now where he has to basically read all these old, the old paperwork, the old reports on everything, and just basically dictate them to audio. So each episode is him kind of reading these weird, different little, kind of Lovecraftian, just very haunting stories of, supernatural kind of things that have been, eyewitness reports, basically. And as the show progresses, it starts to evolve out of this whole monster of the week kind of thing into he becomes a central player, basically, of his own kind of report. And just all kinds of weird shit happens, and it's really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, it really is. The readings are fucking great. There's a little bit of a suspension of disbelief because it's the archivist reading it dramatically, which you would think the archivist would not be reading it dramatically, especially because he's a total Scully about it, and he doesn't, it's like everything has a rational explanation to some degree.
Yeah, and that is one thing I love about it, because he will read the reports, but then he will also add his own personal commentary.
Yes, and it's so British. Like I love how British it is. I believe the author is. My phone just died as I was looking it up, but I believe it is Jonathan Sims. I think is the author, and yes, Jonathan Sims. And actually, I have to check. He had a book of short fiction come out recently. I think based on like people are really interested in what the Magnus Archives is so unique. It's the most unique horror I think I've heard in a very long time. The first episode, I remember you told me to listen to the first episode, and that would, determine whether or not I liked it. I want to say it's what is it named? Like the something fish or the
anglerfish?
Yes, the anglerfish.
Mm-hmm.
It's another one, guys. Like, listen to that, and I think you'll know whether or not you're in. The only thing with it, and the reason why I keep slipping behind, is because there's so many episodes, and also it is very creature of the week until it's not, and it slowly works itself in where it's like there's a continuing story. But so I had to start keeping a list because they'd mention shit, and I'd be like, wait a minute, I think they mentioned this person before. And it's like the kind of thing where I listened to it at work, and it got cumbersome to be able to keep. And I'm not one that can listen and not.
It is very intricate the further along that it goes. But I do have to say, I really love the script flip that they did on it. From him telling the stories to him becoming part of the stories. It really, the only thing I can compare it to is in District 9, how that starts off.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
How it starts off as a documentary, and then basically one camera change later, it's like, oh shit, it's a full-on movie, but you never really feel the change happen. You just kind of realize after the fact that, like, wait, when did this just happen? That's really the only kind of thing I can compare it to.
That's a really good comparison. Yeah, so there you go. Anthony, what do you got?
Waxwork.
I watched it too.
Yeah.
Nice. Part 1 or part 2?
Part 1.
Part 1, nice.
I got them both. The Vestron Blu-ray has both films in it. I've only had time to get through the first one.
Same.
I mean, I've seen it before. I've seen it growing up, and I haven't seen it in probably 10 or 12 years.
Same.
It still holds up. It's still fun. It's not nothing. There's nothing original about it. It's creepy spook house in the middle of nowhere, or in this case in the middle of like the suburbs, which is really
that's bizarre. What I love. And they say it right away where they're like, oh, that's a weird place for a waxworks. Like some kind of a franchise that they're familiar with, and like, oh, it's like the house next door is now a wax museum.
But it's fun. It's fun as hell. Like I
it is.
I mean,
it is.
There's nothing to be spoiled here. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it by now.
Well, even if you haven't, it's not really about the spoiler. It's the
I think for 30-plus-year-old movies, you don't need to worry about spoilers.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it by this point, I don't think anything that we say is going to change your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But still fun as hell. The werewolf is cheesy as shit.
Yeah.
I love that scene where he's squeezing that dude's head. He's yelling, "Ow, my head!" And then you just see blood spray all over the wall. It's hysterical. It's so fun, man.
Dude, the way we talked about this, the way they make the Marquis de Sade, this like swashbuckling, like good-looking pirate guy, and it's like, no,
wait, you mean he wasn't?
Yeah, exactly.
The history books lied?
Yeah, the history books lied. I think he more resembled the hedgehog than Errol Flynn.
He didn't talk about anal sex enough, so
no,
it didn't
that's
make it.
true.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Sorry, I had to go.
The thing that struck me on a rewatch of that like a couple months back, and it was that I forget the name of the main character right now, but that
Billy from Gremlins.
There you go. Is his name Billy in it?
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis.
Oh, it is. Okay, Zach Galifianakis. Zach Galligan.
Zach Galligan. I know.
But I forgot how much of like at the beginning of the film how much of like a yuppie douchebag he is.
Yeah.
He's so yuppie douchebag.
Yeah,
like you're just like, oh, I don't like this guy, and then he becomes the hero of the film.
Yeah, he turns hero, and everybody fucking loves him. Like, okay, well, this works. Fuck it.
Dude, and the chick, Deborah Foreman from Valley Girl, has haunted like every movie I feel like every other movie I watched lately, she's in. I forget what the other one was. I just watched something else. I'm like, God damn.
April Fool's Day.
Sean,
Sean,
don't turn around. She's right behind you.
Oh shit! I'm not turning around. Oh man.
Ray, you got anything else?
Sure. Well, I decided to rewatch because it's Halloween, or rather, it's the month of Halloween. So I rewatched Vampire in Brooklyn, which I hadn't seen in years.
Anthony, you just watched this too, didn't you?
I bought it. Yeah.
I saw it when it came out in the theaters, and then I feel like I watched it like once or twice after that, and then I just forgot about it. And it popped up on Stars, so I went to the app and checked it out, and I liked it more than I did back in the day. I think because I was expecting it to be more of a comedy the first time I saw it, and I just didn't know what to do with it the first time I saw the movie. And now I feel like it's a lot more of a horror movie, and it's also it also very firmly feels like an homage, definitely, to Blackula. Like it's
oh yeah, you can't not make that comparison.
And it's such a black centered horror movie that it's like to see that kind of made back in the day, and like I didn't even realize that at the time that back then that it was a Russ Craven movie, but it's pretty good. It's worth the time.
I've never seen it, so I'll take you up on that.
I just bought the Blu-ray. I'm really looking forward to checking out the specs and seeing how they scrubbed it up. Is it that they do have the scene in there where they're like outside at the church and they have the whole Satan is good bit?
Yes.
Evil
is good. Yeah.
Evil is good. Yeah, I remember that got a chuckle out of me when I was a young lad.
Well, now
the other one we watched was Sleepy Hollow.
Wait, which one?
Oh, the Burton.
Oh God, that's awful. I was gonna bring up
what Sean?
I know. What? I'm sorry. That was the first failing in my Tim Burton fan armor was seeing that well after it was released. I didn't see that till like 2002 or 3.
Oh, really? I saw it in the theaters.
I hated it.
I liked the basic premise. I thought the first act was great, the second act was great, and unfortunately, like a lot of Burton's films lately, the third act, everything falls apart.
Man, the set design and everything is so great, and it's so tempting to like, but I just
the story was good. The setup was good, but yeah, just at some point it turned into an action film.
Well,
and it was never meant to be an action film.
It's got the worst ending I've ever seen. Horseman, and he throws him. I mean, it's so. Oh my God! It just boggles my mind. I don't know.
I can't think of any reason why a 18th century windmill would just explode.
Yeah,
Tim Burton can.
He
doesn't have to explain it to you, Mister.
It's all that flammable grain that they're milling.
There you go.
Yeah. Johnny Depp at least looked kissable in it, so I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there ever a time when he doesn't?
I was just gonna say the same thing. I need to pull out that Polanski flick he's in, The Ninth Gate.
That's a great one. I love that one. It definitely had a lot of kind of Omen vibes to me.
Definitely.
In terms of just the way.
What was that one where he was a gangster? He was like a balding gangster.
Oh, Black Mask.
That one. That was badass.
I haven't seen that.
Terrifying, that movie.
Real quick, I wanted to mention back on the podcast thing. So right now, the Bret Easton Ellis podcast it's behind a paywall. It's Patreon. I think I pay $4 a month. It's like $2 a creation. There might even be a tier lower than that. I think that's the lowest tier. But he's basically serializing his new novel, so he's very good at this. It's biography of events that happened to him in 1981 as a teenager in Los Angeles, and it involves a serial killer called the Prowler. Now, I don't think any of this is real. My second favorite novel ever is Lunar Park. I'm rereading it right now. I always reread it every couple of years for Halloween because it takes place around Halloween. It's basically his homage to Stephen King. But he's the main character. And when I first read it, I didn't know that much about him. And I'm like, he talks about himself and he blurs fact and fiction. And so it deals with him marrying this actress named, I think it's Jane Dennis, who he had a child with Keanu Reeves. So it's like her or two children. It's her and her 2 children, and him moved to Connecticut, and he starts teaching at a college, and then some fucked up shit happens or whatever. So he's very good at mixing fact and fiction. And so I think that's what this is, because if you Google any of this that he's talking about in this new one, and there's no name for it yet, he said it's like, I haven't shopped this to anybody. I don't even know if this is going to come out. I'm just going to read it for the first hour of my podcast every time I put it out, and it's fucking great. I mean, there's obvious stuff that is definitely, I know that this was probably memoir and realistic, but this Prowler stuff, I'm not quite sure. And he said like, oh, people are saying this is made up, but he's saying he's changed every name or whatever, and even the Prowler and whatever. But it's just really, really, I don't know. I love him, so it's cool to get a new piece of fiction from him and have him reading it twice a month or whatever. And then just real quick, because I watched Waxworks, and shortly thereafter I watched 976 Evil, and I just love 976 Evil so fucking much. I tried the sequel, not so much. It's pretty bad. I
977 Evil.
Yeah. No, it's Wynorski directed it. So 976 Evil, Robert Englund's directorial debut. And I fucking love that movie. It's obviously influenced by the Nightmare flicks. There's so many things that Englund did, that are dreamlike and very Freddy-ish. But and also just because I was talking to some younger guys that work for me on my team at work, and I'm explaining to them there was a period of time before the internet where there was this thing in the mid 80s where there were 976 numbers with these adventure stories, and people would call. It's like blew everybody's mind. I'm like, yeah, it was like $5 a minute or something. Like there were people that did this schlocky shit and made like a mint doing it.
Wow.
I find it fascinating.
So basically, we're in the wrong line of business right now.
Yeah, basically. If only we could do that now.
Hey, so in a way, that was kind of like the Patreon of its day.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. Guys, I think we're going to run out of time. So, for the 2-year anniversary of the Horror Vision, I'm Shawn.
I am Anthony.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ray.
And we will see you guys soon enough. But have a happy Halloween if we don't see you until then. Or hear you. Or you hear us.
Kisses.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, man, I picked up this Tascam 4-track, and, we're going to do an album on it.
New from the Horror Vision Press. Sean C. Baker's Shadowplay Book 1, Kim and Jesse. If our reflections woke up, would they hate us? Would they envy our world? Would they try to take it? 2 worlds on a collision course, and 15-year-old Jesse Roberts is caught in the middle. Shadowplay Book 1, Kim and Jesse, is available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or wherever books are sold. Also available, A Collection of Desires, 7 Tales of Modern Horror. These 7 tales bring the horror home to our modern world.